In 1996, the Olympics came to Atlanta for the very first time and transformed it from a city that was just under the radar to one of the biggest in the world. This is the story of it. All right, so our story actually starts in 1987 when this man on the right, Billy Payne, who was a very successful Atlanta lawyer, reached out to Ambassador Andrew Young, who was Mayor Young at the time, with the idea of bringing the Olympics to Atlanta. Now, the reason conversation started back then is because getting a chance to host the Olympics is not an easy task. It requires a multi year effort, getting people in the city together, presentations to the Olympic Committee overseas, and it took about 4 years to get that done. So Atlanta officially won the bid in 1990, beating out Athens, Greece, which was a huge deal. And in anticipation of that, they built a lot of stuff around the city, like Turner Field. So when you ask yourself, why does Atlanta have certain landmarks? A lot of it is because of the 96 Olympics. Then, of course, we have Centennial Park, which all of us know if you live in Atlanta is a huge part of the city and actually about to be utilized again for the FIFA World Cup that's coming here in like 60 days. This was also a massive event because the legend himself, the OG Muhammad Ali, carried the torch. This was an incredible moment for the city. But while we talk about things that were built, we also have to talk about things that were torn down. So many of Atlanta's housing projects, like Techwood Homes, were essentially destroyed, demolished to make room for the Olympics. Thousands of people were displaced as a result of that, and many black people were pushed to the outskirts of the city. But despite that, the legacy of the 96 Olympics really can't be overstated because it changed a lot of things in society in general. For example, the WNBA was really solidified on the strength of what happened in 1996 with this dream team down here. Of course, we see Don Staley, Lisa Leslie, all of the OGs who ended up dominating the WNBA essentially swept the Olympics 8-0, and that really solidified this idea of a women's basketball league. So we wouldn't be where we are today if it weren't for 1996. And for my Martin fans out here, you should remember that he had an episode where he invited the entire team over. This is him playing against Don Staley right here. And this is earlier in the episode when Martin was claiming that he could beat all of them. Notice the Olympic drip. Martin came out around the same time as the Olympic Games, so it only made sense to have him on there. It was a really dope move. So, bringing it all together, since the 96 Olympics, the population of the city is more than doubled, right? In 1996, the population was around 3.5 million. Now we're closing in at about 6 million. And you see a lot of the parallels from 96 going to 2026 with the World Cup coming here. So, the city is in full cleanup mode. We've been building more landmarks. Even Little Five Points has gotten cleaned up. But when you talk about how Atlanta went from like a regional hub to basically like a national city, it's because of the 96 Olympics and all of those other things that came along with it. So, that said, with the 2026 World Cup on the way, just pay attention to how the city's changing and let's actually revisit this and see what's up. Peace.